X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast, where I, Zach Jenkins, and my co-host, Adam Reck, go through 3 X-Men stories and put them on our list from the best to the worst X-Men stories, of forever. Adam, how are you doing today?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And do you know why I'm doing so great today?
Why? Why are you so
Because
great?
we have our first guest
Nice.
on the show. His name, which you may have heard all across the world on things like the Warlock and Ajax question segment, my Twitter account, or on the fabulous podcasts Multiversal Q and Exiled. It's Luke Herr. Luke, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and also I do want to point out I have been a guest on War Rocket Ajax. I've been on multiple Heroes Con specials, and I was back in the days of the Hundo Club when we got to be on an episode for doing that.
Nice.
Wow.
Welcome.
You are prolific. But,
That's a way of putting it.
No, so Luke's here. We have a few really exciting specials, cool issues coming up. But first, we should probably let people know why Luke's worth being a guest, I guess.
Oh, that's harsh.
That wasn't harsh. They don't know him. We obviously agreed that he should be on the show. He has the credentials. So, Luke, how about you tell us about Multiversal Q and Exiled?
Sure. So Multiversal Q is your guide to the comic book multiverse, now in podcast form. It's a weekly podcast where we look at different alternate universe comic stories, and then we rank them and put them on the list. We started that after War Rocket Ajax and after Journey into Misery, though I was unaware of Journey into Misery when it started, but we got it in before Battle of the Atom started.
Look, it's not like putting things on a list is a unique concept. People like lists.
Ranking them is our unique.
Okay. That's fair.
And,
That's fair. I mean, you say unique, but you did just list 3 other podcasts that do the exact same thing, and that's just the comics-related ones.
Yeah.
There's lots of us. What can we say?
We are Legion.
Is this that podcast?
No, this is not Legion Quest, which I keep forgetting to pitch on or promote on here. I also do another podcast, Every Other Listener, but it's about Legion, which isn't on right now. So we'll get to that later.
We gotta wait.
That's a whole
bit
segment at the end of the show. You're getting ahead of yourself.
Well, if you like Legion, we did a Everyone is John Legion backstory when we led into our Age of Apocalypse special coverage, which we did as a Ken Burns style audio documentary.
Yeah, which was legit super good because I am well documented on this podcast of loving Age of Apocalypse. And that's actually what got me really listening to Multiversal Q and into the Luke Herr family of podcasts. I'd listened to a few others in the past, but that's the one I was like, okay, this is my jam. This is where I should be.
Well, and we should be expanding that family relatively soon. There's conversations about Oops, all anime.
I'm not listening to Oops All Anime. As we will find out next week when we cover my least favorite story of all time.
Not a fan.
Not a fan, and that did nothing to change it.
But yeah, and then Exiled is a role-playing game live play podcast. So it's me, Devin, who is my co-host for Multiversal Q, James Leask, Jen Overstreet, and then initially Bree Rudd, now Kaylee, who we get together and do a Exiles inspired role-playing game. And for the most part, it was 1 month equals 1 story arc. We update every week, and then we do occasional bonus episodes, which are a good way to find out if you'd like the podcast. We call those our 5th week specials.
Sweet.
Yeah, cool.
You busy man.
Yes. Like,
Yeah.
as soon as this is done, I am recording another podcast, and then I'm editing podcasts, and then I'm just going to spend the rest of the time at the movies.
That
Ooh,
sounds
what you
fun.
gonna go see? Anything good? What's even out right now?
I'm going to see Good Time, that new movie with Robert Pattinson. Ingrid
Oh.
Goes West, and Then the World Is Not Enough. I'm on that
Whoa.
triple feature life.
Which one's
Whoa.
The World's Not Enough? Is that the newspaper one? It's a Pierce Brosnan Bond.
No.
Or is that Tomorrow Never Dies?
That's Tomorrow Never Dies, which I saw on Wednesday, along with
Tomorrow
Dunkirk.
Never Dies isn't very good.
No, it like that initial scene is just like, oh, this could be interesting, and then it's like, oh god, no, this is like so much scenery chewing. It's like, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's the worst because I know Die Another Day is not a good movie, but
Oh, I'm seeing that tomorrow.
I kind of love it for the Batman and Robin-esque. Just it's bizarre and campy. Like there's a man with diamonds in his face, and he's a main villain. It's kind of, I don't know. I think it takes James Bond to its logical extreme, and it was probably good that Casino Royale pulled that back a lot.
I'm seeing that on Wednesday.
Yeah, that one's good. Are you just going through every James Bond movie?
The local movie house, Gateway Film Center, is showing every James Bond movie, and I've caught
Wow.
most of them.
That's cool.
That's cool. I mean,
Yes.
James Bond's, he's neat. He's been around for a very long time. So,
But we aren't
awesome.
here to talk about James Bond or my James Bond podcast or the upcoming James Bond inspired Exiled episode once I find the right guest. But yeah, let's get into talking stories.
We should get into talking stories. Now, to stay on brand, Luke, you actually brought all three of these to the table. So, let's start with your first one, which was Exiles, Volume 1, numbers 1 and 2, called Down the Rabbit Hole and Sins of the Father. This was written by Judd Winnick with pencils by Mike McCone, inks by Mark McKenna, and colors by JC. Just JC. He has a very, very simple name, which good for him.
Before we start talking about this book, I have a age-related question, which Zach, I feel like we talked a little bit about this off the air, but the first thing that came to mind in revisiting this was I really want to start by asking you guys, how do you know who Judd Winnick is?
I know him from
Exiles.
Exiles.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I-
you guys don't know. Well, you may know, but like you're not primarily introduced to Judd Winnick via the real world.
I was not.
Oh,
No.
no. I thought you were going
I'm
to
just
say
looking this up now.
Yeah, that's where he met his wife.
Yes. So I was just curious because I know I'm going to be showing my age here, but Judd Winnick was a big deal in the 90s because he was on the most famous season, arguably the most famous season of The Real World, which at one point was a very good show, although it is responsible for the hellscape of reality television that we live in now.
That's fair.
But yeah, I just want to put in a little anecdote here. There was another person on that show who was like the villain of the show, a guy named Puck. And I actually ran into him at an Atlanta airport once, and it was the most surreal experience of my entire life. So coming back to this and going, oh, right, Judd Winnick is not just this reality guy from the 90s. He's like a very established comic book writer. It was kind of a trip for me.
Yeah, he is also like famous for his run on Green Lantern.
Right.
And he brought back the Red Hood, or well, he brought back Jason Todd in Batman comics.
Well, nobody's perfect. But wait, did he write Under the Red Hood?
Yeah.
That's okay. Like that's a good story. I don't like
And he
Jason
was-
Todd, but
He was also the showrunner for Juniper Lee, that like 1 season long Cartoon Network.
Yeah, Cartoon Network.
huh.
He also
Man.
has a graphic novel about the other big storyline on that Real World season was Pedro, a guy who was HIV positive who died of AIDS. And he wrote a graphic novel about that and Pedro's life. So that's another thing that you can check out about Judd. But anyway, Exiles, anybody? We like this?
Exiles.
Yeah, so Exiles, and correct me if I'm wrong because I've literally read 2 issues of Exiles and just listened to the Exiled podcast a lot. But it's a team of multiverse or characters from different parts of the multiverse coming together to fix time and space. Is that right?
That sounds
Did I
accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So on this team, because it's a weird team, we've got
so weird.
Magnus, who is an alternate reality son of Rogue and Magneto. We've got Morph, who is Kevin Sidney, who is a cartoon character.
He is awful at the beginning.
Yeah, I was gonna note that.
Yeah, he's not great. Like, I get that I like what they use him for some jokes. Like, he adds some levity, but then he also adds some weird creepiness.
Oh, yeah.
That needs toned down hard.
He eventually gets better, but like we've been covering Exiles in Multiversal Q, and it's weird like seeing, because of convoluted reasons, he sort of reverted back to this early awful version. And it's just like, no, I liked Good Morph, who had character depth and sadness, and yeah, he doesn't really get that until you find out that his mom died and one of the other characters is a lesbian.
Oh.
Huh.
Okay.
Neato.
Can I ask, do you guys might know the answer to this, because Morph is originally AOA, correct?
No.
Yeah.
No?
So, okay. And this will tie into the next book we cover.
Yeah.
But, so, Morph was originally, the code name was used for the character on the X-Men animated series, who existed to die, but he was later retconned into being the AOA code name of the character Changeling, Kevin Sidney, from the Silver Age, who existed to be on Factor 3, I think, and then to fake Professor X's death one of the 400 times he did that.
Okay. But
And
the
don't
origin
forget-
is still the animated series, right? That is the origin of this character?
Yes. I want to say yes.
Okay.
left him behind, soldier boy.
We have an entire other book to get through before we can make X-Men 92 jokes. We need to stay focused on this one brand, and then we can move to the next brand.
Well, who else is on
Welcome
this
to my
team?
brand.
We got Blink.
Yeah, Blink, actual AOA Blink, she's pretty cool. Nocturne, who is TJ Wagner. She's Kurt Wagner's daughter from an alternate reality, who ended up in the 616 for a surprising amount of time.
Well, and she's Kurt Wagner and Scarlet Witch's daughter.
Yeah, but I don't like her, so I didn't want to bring it up.
She's an interesting character, but it's also like, oh, I forgot that she like vanished, and then she eventually like joined up with maybe Strife or like one of those evil mutant leaders in the 616.
It was Exodus at the end of Austin's horrible run. It was when he switched from Uncanny to Adjectiveless, and he brought in other Zorn, who's the identical twin brother of the Zorn, who pretended to be Magneto, pretending to be Zorn.
Is that Shen Zorn? Which Zorn is that?
Shen Zorn is the good Zorn. Kun Yin Zorn is the bad Zorn.
It's too many Zorns.
That's a lot of Zorns. And then the last member of the team is John Proudstar Thunderbird, but without a nose. And that's the team.
Oh, yeah. He just has that little notch there.
You
Yeah,
talking about Horseface?
Yeah, he looks like a mix between Beta Ray Bill and Apocalypse Art.
Yeah, because he was mutated
But
by
he's a horseman,
Apocalypse.
right? That's why he looks like that?
Oh my gosh, are you serious? Oh, that's a bad joke. They did that on purpose. They knew what they were doing. But
Horsey Horseman.
yeah, let's
Did
talk
we get
about this.
Mimic in there?
It gets really
Mimic.
bad with Calafior's art. Oh, yeah, and Mimic. Mimic sucks.
Mimic sucks. Man, there's a lot of guys who kind of suck on this team.
That's why they just start killing them off.
Yeah. So, yeah, Magnus lasts 2 issues. And then he sacrifices himself for reasons that felt dubious. It felt like they needed to
that
kill
doesn't
someone.
make sense at all.
Yeah, so the whole thing on this is they get sent to a different dimension to try and fix it. And the Talus, which is their supercomputer cell phone thing, gives them cryptic instructions to go
Find your greatest teacher.
find your greatest teacher.
And the important thing is Blink is the one who's wearing it. Everyone else came from a universe where Xavier was their teacher. Blink came from a universe where Xavier died.
It's a tricky Talus.
It's such like a good twist, though.
This arc works. I think it's fun.
I like. Luke, I'm going to let you talk about what you like about this, because I think we have a bit of a different opinion on this book.
Mm-hmm. So it gets across the premise very well, where it's going to be like, oh, we're going to play with some of what you expect, and we're going to give you all of these interesting characters. Oh, and anybody can die, and you never know what you're going to see. Like, you have that weird ant lady version of, like, Spider-Woman who shows up.
Yeah, that's
and
weird.
Just that weird team of, like, mutants, because basically they save Xavier, and he knocks all of them out after reading their minds, because this is evil Xavier who's been locked up in a world that's worse than Days of Future Past in terms of treatment of mutants.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they're like, oh, we messed this up. I guess we have to save our actual person. We were supposed to save Magneto, and then they take down evil Xavier, and it's like, oh, now you can have a better world. Just to summarize.
Yeah.
And like, it gets across the premise well. It sort of introduces the personalities for everybody and does a lot of good setup for some of the relationship stuff further down the way, but it's also like Magnus's death means nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Oh.
Yeah, because he wasn't likable, and he was sort of like casted as, he's the Slipknot of this team.
Yes.
He wouldn't have
very
appeared in any
much.
advertising.
He also
no
is so
character
integral to the. Yeah, he's very integral to the plot advancing, just by fact that he's like so super powered that he can just magically create Cerebros whenever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he's a little too powerful for this story, because he's magical in a lot of ways in getting them to the next step. This reminded me a lot, actually, of the initial start of Excalibur. It has sort of like a wacky, bizarre, goofy feel to it. I think we commented before that Morph doesn't really work, but I was kind of surprised that, okay, this is a very bizarre cast of characters, but it works for me. I enjoyed reading it.
And initially they're all mutants, which works, and then they eventually add in Sasquatch, and it's like, oh, nope, no more all mutants.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, this was coming out at an interesting time for Marvel, and especially X-Men in general. Ultimate X-Men had been going strong for about a year, or less than a year now. New X-Men with Morrison had just started. X-Force X-Statix had just started. Like, it was a lot of changes happening at the same time, and I think this book was there to provide a bit more classic superhero action in a time where they were just going in a different direction, a direction that was probably needed at the time, but they were changing it. I think this was their kind of safety net. Hey, if you just want, wham, pow, bang comic stuff, come here.
Yeah, and it has a little bit of that time caper stuff that went awry on the Excalibur line.
Yeah.
But it does it in an interesting way. So I found it really enjoyable. Is Luke? I'm assuming because you know this inside and out. You've read the whole run. Worth reading.
There is a part where Chuck Austin comes on, and it gets really, really bad for like
What?
he comes on for one arc, and then he leaves for another arc, and then he comes back on for two more arcs, and they bring in like the Mutant Axe Havoc stuff and like the weird wolf people.
Wait,
and
the wolf
then
people from his. The wolf people from
Yes.
his. Oh my gosh. They're the part of
Yeah.
the run that's terrible, and I keep forgetting because there's so much worse stuff in Austin's run.
And
Oh.
then And then it becomes good again. I'm blanking on the name of the guy who takes over, but it becomes really good until Claremont comes on. And Claremont kills the run. He does a crossover with Extreme X-Men, I believe it. No, he does a crossover with Excalibur, Die by the Sword, and then he takes over writing New Exiles, which is even worse. Like, I have memories of that being like, oh, I never want to read this again. And then, like, years later, Jeff Parker comes on for a new run of Exiles, which is my favorite run of Exiles.
Huh. Neato.
And that Parker stuff ended way too fast, but, like, that is great because they have a really, really good team, and the art is fantastic. It's, the guy who did the Wolverine Year 1 art, and a bunch of other stuff.
I forget who did that. But yeah, that's good stuff. Now, I'd say we've talked about this enough. Where do you think it falls on the list? I know we've talked about Excalibur a lot in comparison to it, and we have one Excalibur story on here. At number 10 right now is Excalibur Mojo Mayhem. Do you think this is better or worse than Mojo Mayhem?
I mean, I like Mojo Mayhem better.
I like Mojo Mayhem better.
Mojo Mayhem does a better job of using all of the cast and making those losses feel important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have a Battle of the Atom at 11, and I don't think this is as good as that.
I think this is
we are
definitely...
Battle of the Atom lovers.
We named a podcast after it. So
that's right.
It gets a lot of leverage from us.
Yeah, no, I liked what I remember of Battle of the Atom.
It's some good stuff and a lot of bad stuff. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah,
I definitely think this is better than the first Juggernaut story from the Silver Age, which we have at number 13. Which that just really brings up: do you like it better or worse than Fatal Attractions, the Super 90s crossover with the holograms?
Oh boy, Bone Claws.
Like Jem the Holograms?
No, but they would have made it better.
That would have been a great crossover. Yeah.
Wait,
Man,
does Lila show up? Lila doesn't show up because she's the most Jem the Holograms-y of all the X-Men. Well, Dazzler and Lila together. There isn't.
Is there
Dazzler
literally attractions?
Dazzler literally uses magic or uses lights as her power. So I mean, that's very, very Jem the Holograms.
She's probably close to that, but Lila's like a rock star, so
yeah, she's a.
Let's say the time when Dazzler was in Lila's band is probably the most Jem and the Holograms-y that X-Men gets. I think that's a fair combination.
Yeah.
Writes down notes for Exiles.
Well, you guys know my opinions on Fatal Attractions. It's not my favorite. But it also has more consequence to the to where the stories go.
Yeah. Okay, so you like it more than Fatal Attractions. I think I like Fatal Attractions more than it. So Luke, our guest, please make an assessment. Be like King Solomon and find a solution to this problem.
I'm going to put it above because I've never read Fatal Attractions.
Oh.
And we haven't gotten to it in Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, so I don't know what happens. But I'm going to say that this goes above it because I'm seeing Burying Ilyana Rasputin and Exodus, and is this where Wolverine gets his...
Bone Claws?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
oh,
yes,
yeah.
That's the best part of it. That's the best part of it. That's the single best moment in that entire 6 issues. Even if Adam doesn't like it.
No, we're putting this above Fatal Attractions.
Fine.
Okay.
So, number 12 on our list, Exiles 1 and 2. We spent a lot more time talking about that than I expected, but we went on some tangents.
Yeah, and there's a lot of characters.
That's right.
You have to talk about every character. That's why we're going to spend an hour on X-Men 92.
Well, talking about a lot of characters, this next book has tons of characters.
He already let in with X-Men 92.
He would never expect.
You missed the segue. You totally missed the segue, man. Oh, yeah. X-Men 92, though. This is, to be specific, this is the first arc of the ongoing series. So it's X-Men 92, Volume 2, numbers 1 through 4. The trade is called, and I love this, The World is a Vampire.
The world is a vampire.
The world is a vampire.
It's so great.
I'm glad we all
So
shared that moment together.
Yes.
Yes.
But
I'm wearing my Zero T-shirt.
Are you actually?
No.
Oh.
I would love to own one of those, though. I was just watching Scott Pilgrim the other night, and I forgot he wears that in a big chunk of the movie. And I was like, oh, that'd be a good one to own.
Wait, since Scott Pilgrim wears an X-Men patch on his jacket, do we have to rank all of the Scott Pilgrim books? Because those are going to go way too high for most people.
I'm fine with
No, because he's not a mutant.
Yeah, he's not. That's not in continuity. We don't
It's
have
not. He just likes X-Men. That's fine.
And he also rips the patch off at some point in the movie, if I remember correctly. I don't know if he does that in the book.
But like Cyclops has quit the X-Men so many times, and like other X-Men have.
It's true. X-Men are very fluid. So, X-Men 92.
More.
We all love this book, right?
Yes, we do. Now, this was written by Chris Sims, Chad Bowers, with pencils by Alti Fermentia? Is it Fermencia or Fermencia?
Alti Fermencia.
Fermencia. Okay, I've heard it pronounced both ways. With colors by Matt Milla, and awesome covers by David Nakayama.
Yeah.
This is a follow-up to the Secret Wars series, and it is very on brand for this creative team, because Chris Sims wrote a story about Draculas.
Yeah.
It was the only thing he wanted to do.
Of course. You know this is where he wanted to start, so it's great.
Now the pitch of X-Men 92 is that it's a synthesis of the 90s X-Men comics and the X-Men, the animated series TV show. It's essentially what the world and the concept of X-Men in 1992 was. And I know, Adam, you've revealed your age already. You've revealed that you were a bit older when this came out. So I imagine, like, when you think of 1992 and X-Men, you think of the comics.
Yes. But the animated series was a big thing when I was growing up too. You know, like that was on constantly, that and Batman the animated series. So the combo here of this, but I also like that they extend it beyond that. You know, it's not just those two concepts. It's not just Mutant Genesis and the animated series. We're also going to get like X-Statix characters. We're going to get Generation X. It reminds me a little bit of Worst X-Man Ever's amalgam of all of the different X universes. It's really well done.
Now,
it's what's important to you.
Yes. Now, Luke, you suggested this book. What's your opinion on it? Where do you come from when you like this book, or don't like this book, or suggest this book?
Oh, I love this book. I mean, it's sort of the over-the-top synthesis of everything that I love about X-Men. I mean, I was a big fan of the Secret Wars series, but I feel like this is sort of a better starting place in some ways because you don't have to deal with the Doom World stuff and the weird continuity that is introduced there and then is like weirdly sort of ignored, except it's not.
Yeah, it's like floating in the background, but it's not important.
It's like they ignore the fact that the entire world in the Secret Wars was a mall, and they say, "Oh wait, the rest of the world is here too. We just didn't go there." Now, I do kind of disagree that it's better than the Secret Wars series. In general, I think this might be the weakest arc of the entire 92 series. I mean, it's still very good, but I don't know. Vampire Draculas and X-Men never hit me the way they do other people. And this is a very Dracula's heavy story.
I can see that, but I'm also a person who like loves the all over, like when you do mix the X-Men and the other Marvel stuff, and so you do get the stuff like the Darkhold showing up here and being a major part. And I mean, we have not talked about the best like joke, the thing that made me like, okay, I am like buying this series no matter what. Which is Alpha Red. Alpha Red.
Oh, that wasn't my guess. My guess was Rogue hitting people upside with the bear several times.
With a bear. Because the People's Protectorate shows up like 3 pages into this thing.
She uses Ursa Major as a weapon multiple times in this arc.
It just shows such a respect for like the obscurity of X-Men continuity that like we're gonna go back to old X Factor annuals and pick out the villains and here are the Struckers and it's so weird.
They're the upstarts.
It's great. Yeah, the upstarts are a big part of this. I agree with Zach that maybe this only ran for a very short period of time, which still makes me incredibly mad. Because I feel like if this had gotten a longer run, we would have gotten a much more evolved plot line that led up to the things that happened in the final issue.
Oh yeah.
But this seems like two guys who are dream come true, writing for Marvel, doing something that they've always wanted to do. I love the art. Alti's art is a perfect synthesis of kind of 90s flashiness, but also the cartooniness to ground it in the animated series. It's awesome. I love it. I miss this series so much. I really wish that they would come back. I know Chad is doing Youngblood now, which is also pretty fun. I don't know if you guys have read any of that. Yeah, it's a great take. Great take on those characters, which are weird to begin with. But I would love for them to come back to this. There's a lot of success with books like Gwenpool right now, and I'd love to see them, Marvel, maybe get these guys back together for a one shot or something. I know I'm dreaming, but
they've been doing a lot of books still together at Marvel. It's just been a lot of one shots, or they'll do a Guardians of the Galaxy crossover.
They also had a original graphic novel with Rob Liefeld.
Yeah.
Which was super good, actually. I really liked Bad Blood.
We should cover that at some point, because that was an interesting trade.
And while Deadpool is not specifically an X-Men character in all cases, this was an X-Men heavy book. Bad Blood was...
Yeah, X-Force shows up in its original incarnation. So.
Yeah. It's some good stuff.
But I can see what you're saying about, the Dracula stuff. But again, it's still grounded in Curse of the Mutants. So there's, a lot of continuity blending here.
Oh, yeah. And even the earlier Dracula stories, they straight up be oh yeah, Storm and the X-Men have dealt with Dracula before.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a panel that's straight up covered to annual 5 or 6, whatever one's the Dracula's annual.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I like this story a lot. It happens to combine some elements of X-Men that don't always resonate with me. But it also has Teen Dupe.
Yes.
So it gets a lot that I love as well. So I don't know, it's a bit mixed for me. I think that it's good. It's definitely worth reading. I reread it last night and I was like, "Oh yeah, wait, this is great. This is super good." So I think it's right up there. One thing I know you were bringing up, Adam, some of the future plans they might have had. So I'm going to pitch, and I'm going to put this in the as mentioned, but a few months ago, Luke had Chris and Chad on his podcast, Multiversal Q, and asked them a bunch of questions about this. And then somehow I ended up there, and I asked them a bunch of questions about this. And we talk about all of the plans they could have had for it. And it makes me very upset every time. I've listened to it since, and it made me very upset that didn't get to happen. If you want to know the what if, there's some good what if here.
Yeah, I would have loved for this series to have gotten a good 25 issues. Mm-hmm. The fact that it was chopped down, it's just sad to me because, from everything, from the DNA covers, the art alone, I just love the way Alti draws, and I wanted her to have more opportunities to draw even more of the X universe, which she does get to do in the back half, but it's so rushed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I like it. I've got one point I want to make, and then I'd say let's move into ranking this. But the last thing I do want to say is canonically, Teen Dupe is not just Dupe as a teenager, it's regular Dupe, and he was just at the school with a bunch of teens, and he decided to blend in. That's a real thing. That's a real thing that happened here, and I love it so much. I think about it from time to time, and it makes me giggle.
This book should make you giggle. Seems like its point.
It's great.
It is a fun book.
It's fun. I would say the one thing, and this may have been actually the downfall of the series, end of the day, it gets so much synthesized about 90s X-Men, including the stuff that doesn't always work well. So it does some things with kind of the convoluted nature and the feeling that you're always missing something. Even when you go back to read 90s X-Men now, and I think we've talked about it a bit with Fatal Attractions and stuff, but there always seems to be a little subplot or something that you're not getting.
Oh yeah.
And I think that pacing was intentional for this book, and it definitely adds to the 90s feel. But, it's been 20 plus years since 1992. So I think the comic reading culture as a whole has changed a bit and is less receptive to that feeling of I don't know something. Like we live in a Netflix binge culture where you start at episode 1 and work your way up so you don't miss a beat. And it's a lot harder for people just to accept that they're not going to get everything.
Well, this series is clearly for fans, and it's not a mini. So Marvel has to think about editorially how they balance that, and then that's what happened. It only lasted for a short period of time. So where do we want to rank this? I think we're still finding sort of the middle of the road here, but
I know you guys love Wolverine and the X-Men number 17. I'd put this arc above Giant Size X-Men because, Giant Size number 1 has a lot of stuff that works well, but then it also has a lot of stuff that doesn't work, including sort of the base premise. I don't think Krakoa super works as an X-Men villain, but he's a big part of the continuity in the same way that Dracula and vampires are.
I mean, I think that's fair. That's actually where I was looking. I'm trying to figure out between. I think my floor, Giant Size. What I'm trying to figure out, I think it has to go under X-Men 1 through 3 Mutant Genesis. I think that codifies the 90s so much, and I don't think that this arc, at least, of X-Men 92 beats that.
No.
So
I don't think it's better than the Wolverine and the X-Men dupe issue either.
See, that's where I'm kind of jumping back and forth, because and part of it is just where X-Men 92 as a whole, because it was a short run. I think it was 14 total issues when you count the Secret Wars mini. And it's that whole thing kind of synthesizes itself to me as one big thing. And I think as a whole, it might be better than that dupe issue. I think...
But we're looking at just this arc right now.
Right.
So, I'm fine putting it under the dupe one, because, that's Jason Aaron and Mike Allred working on a single issue of just pure weirdness.
Right. Like when Chris obviously listens to this podcast and then talks about it at length on his other podcast networks, I'm sure he will understand that, Jason Aaron and Mike Allred are pretty good comic book writers, but we're also putting him above Dave Cockrum and Len Wein, so maybe he can be okay with that. I don't know. I'm not friends with him in real life.
And I would also say that X-Men 92 5 to 10, I would be more tempted to go above Wolverine and the X-Men 17.
Well, that has the toadies. That has the toadies in it.
Yeah, that whole arc is between the X-Men 2099 bit and bringing in X-Force towards the end. It's so incredibly crazy. Takes it to another level.
Just have to you can always bring me back on to help you guys rank that one.
We will take that into consideration for the future.
So now we're putting it at number 9. Is that the verdict?
Yep. Our new number 9 is X-Men 92 1 through 4. The world is a vampire.
The world is a vampire.
We already did that bit. That went to Smoke on the Water, or not Smoke. That went into White Room. I don't know why it went into White Room. Those are different songs. But we've got one more story on this list, and this is a good one. I think that's fair to say.
So understatement.
We've got X-Men Uncanny X-Men numbers 141 and 142, The Days of Future Past. Which the worst part about this is the title's actually kind of dumb. Days of Future Past doesn't make much sense when you think about it for more than 2 seconds.
But isn't it just there to confuse you? I don't think it's. I think the glory of this is such an amazing epic pair of issues, and I'm gonna sell this really hard, guys, because I really think this should be at number 1 now, and maybe you guys want to argue with me about this, but this is Byrne and Claremont knowing they're about to break up because they're not friends really at this point in the run. And they are just going all out. This is going to be the craziest thing ever. We're going to react to the negative fan backlash of Dark Phoenix, and we're going to kill everybody. and this is how we're going to do it, with this like very distilled awesome thing that introduces concepts that are so vital to what X-Men is about for, well, until right now in continuity. Am I sensing that I'm liking this more than you guys?
I don't think so. So
No?
here's the thing. And Luke, chime in if you disagree with me, because you are the multiverse expert. You are the guy who knows everything about the things that aren't canon, in air quotes. But I'm sorry. Did you want to chime in before I made my point?
Are we going to talk about All Access and how the Legion of Superheroes on Access got Magneto crippled?
I had never heard of that before.
Posted that on freaking. Oh, that's a true thing that happened. The Legion of Superheroes causes Magneto's wheelchairness in this, which I didn't know until late last night, and I am still reeling from.
That's crazy.
That may be my favorite weird bit of continuity.
Yeah.
Yes. It's one of those things that is almost always ignored just because it's not only an Amalgam spin-off, but it's like the third Amalgam spin-off, well, the second Amalgam spin-off series. Because, in All Access, Access just keeps flashing through different time periods, like different characters from those time periods end up meeting up, so it's like, I think it's the Two-Gun Kid ends up meeting with Jonah Hex, and both of them understand what's happening because they've seen enough weird stuff. And eventually, Axis goes in and meets the Legion of Superheroes, who meet him in the Days of Future Past days. They are able to briefly get a device that will turn off the mutant power dampeners, but then they get called back into another universe because of plot reasons, and Magneto ends up getting a harpoon through the back by a Sentinel, and that's why he's crippled.
Wow.
Comics are the worst and also the best.
That was very complicated.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess
whereas
this
is not.
No, this is pretty straightforward. There is a dark future that the X-Men have to send one of their own into the past, Kitty Pryde. Kate Pryde, I guess she goes by. She's older now. She's older, more mature. But she goes by Kate Pryde, goes to the past, inhabits her younger self's body, her younger self who has literally had one X-Men adventure, and has to try and deal with all that. But it's super good. Like, the thing about Days of Future Past is the X-Men the X-Men books end up chasing this story, this bad timeline, alternate reality future forever, and it ends up not being the X-Men. It's like 90% of all, alternate futures end up with, this is the bad future where everyone's hunted. Like, freaking Heroes did this in their first season. Like, that's how codified and how iconic this story is.
And this was the first time travel story that Marvel really did to this extent, because, like, even Alan Moore's Captain Britain run that, like, introduced a lot of alternate universe stuff didn't happen until after this. And then you sort of see a straight line from this into Age of Apocalypse and Heroes Reborn and all of that stuff.
Oh, even up till right now. I mean, if you can't have all new X-Men without a story, without this, happening first. I had sent over that Abraham Reisman article from Vulture, which had some interesting quotes from Sean Howe and John Byrne about this story. Sean Howe was contending that this was actually the first example, and Luke, maybe you know this better because this is like your wheelhouse, that this was the first example of a dystopian future time travel story in the Marvel Universe. Is that accurate? I don't know, but I mean, this is so core to what X-Men is all about, and it leads to so much of its continuity too.
As far as I know, it is. I did a presentation on Free Comic Book Day about alternate universes in both the Marvel and DC universe, because my life is very, very sad at times. But, like, this was the big thing, because like, I was unable to find anything else. There could be, like, some lost and forgotten stories, just because there are so many Marvel books that are completely out of print and more or less out of awareness for people. But, like, for as far as my research led, this was the first one.
Yeah, and there's no prep for this. Like in the trade that I have, it prints the couple of issues that come before this, but there is no warning that this is coming. This isn't something that's like on on the verge. It just smacks you in the face. It's over very quickly. It ties directly into the mutant metaphor things that we were talking about a lot in our first episode with God Loves Man Kills, with the Senator Kelly angle. It's about as distilled an X-Men story as you can get. The lineup here is classic. It is perfect.
Well, it's perfect, and then Angel's there.
Well, okay,
Oh,
Angel's the worst of the 05, and no one can disagree with that.
Oh, yeah, no, I can't argue with that.
He's the absolute worst. This is before he gets his awesome blade wings and becomes Archangel, which is, he needed that. He gets broody. He gets broody, but he needed it.
I will make a side point. This was not the first big Marvel alternate universe story, but this was the first one that had major ramifications and was part of the main continuity, because Volume 1 of What If had started in 1977.
That's before this. It's like 5 years.
Yeah, but like a lot of those were very different. I mean, you got some weird stuff, but those were all very self-contained, and except for the What If Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four, none of them really had come back at all.
Well, and this one's interesting because it's not resolved. At the end of it, you don't know if they're successful or not. I think Professor X's line is like, well, time will tell, but so you don't really know if this alternate timeline got resolved or not, and it leads to so much. I mean, we get Rachel. This opens the door for something like Bishop. We just did Messiah Complex. You can't have Messiah Complex without this. You can't have Battle of the Atom without this. It just opens the door for so much of this stuff. It's great.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it is more of the legacy that it brings. I mean, it's a very good story, but it's also, I feel like you might have a hard time reading it if you're less familiar with Claremont, because it is also very Claremontian written. Because some of those battle pages are like, oh, you've also written a page full of text that you're sticking on here.
Claremont never met a thesaurus he didn't want to use.
Yeah. Well, and guys, there are rogues. You got to watch out for the rogues. This is rogue area. We're going to say rogue a lot in the first couple pages. Yeah, I don't know, guys. For me, I think this is hard to beat. There's a reason they went back and made a movie, tried to make a movie based on it. And
wait, why do you say tried? That's the best X-Men movie. Hold on.
What's better, X2 or Days of Future Past?
Days of Future Past is a better overall movie. X2 has moments. We will save the actual ranking of the X-Men movies for when the new...
We should do that.
We'll do a special when the actual movies come out. Spoilers for our future selves. There's 3 next year. We'll have time.
That's true. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
God.
I love the movie, and I think they did a really great job, and that's one of the reasons that I disliked the next one so much, because I thought Days of Future Past was so great. So yeah.
Except there's one big problem. It came out in 2014 instead of 2013.
Oh,
which would have been great if
missed
they
it by
had
a
that
year.
in the year.
That would have been
right.
the far-off future of 2013. Oof. Man, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, all our flying cars. It's great.
Yeah.
Peace in our
So
time.
we've talked around it a bunch, but I'd say, look, everyone knows that Days of Future Past is very, very good. It is an important and also good comic. It's very fun to read. It's good. It's good. I'd say it's better than the Chris Claremont, Frank Miller, Wolverine goes to Japan and fights ninja story.
I agree.
I'd rather read that one though if it's you can read either Days of Future Past or you can read this Wolverine fighting ninja story. I'd rather read Wolverine 9 times out of 10.
One of the
Here-
things that I think we've been talking about in terms of the list is also about its, I don't know,
Legacy.
yeah, its role in terms of,
They-
pushing the rest of it forward, or also the ability to, I think we talked about this with God Loves, with like being able to hand it to someone, like you're a new X-Men fan. What are X-Men about? I don't know.
Yeah.
Those
So
are things I think we
there's
should consider.
here's the two kind of points on that, because right now our 1-2 is God Loves Man Kills and Wolverine Volume 1.
Yep.
I think that God Loves Man Kills and Wolverine Volume 1 are much better entry point. Like, you've never read X-Men? Here you go. These two are both very good,
Yes.
and you can get them anyway. Days of Future Past is like, you've read like 3 or 4 stories, you have your grounding in what these characters are, now let's turn that on its head. Let's give you something bonkers.
It's introducing the third heat of X-Men.
Yep.
Which is the what if.
Right. Yeah, no, that's actually a really good way to put it. This adds what the X-Men really needed to be the X-Men we have today.
Yeah.
Now,
I think
that
it's a
being,
better X-Men story than it is than the Wolverine story is a better, like
yeah, and that's
Wolverine
why
ranked-
God Loves isn't on top of it. That's why God
Right.
Loves is number 1 right now, because we had to brawl for that one, because I like that
Yeah.
Wolverine story a lot. It's very good.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's great. So then the question is it better than God Loves Man Kills? Which I think established was that, this is your primer. If you need to know what X-Men is and what its core ideas are about, check out this book, which is a beautiful, well-written book.
Yeah, but Days of Future Past does not have Kitty using the N-word.
That's very true. Look,
That is true.
that didn't age well. That
And we
didn't age
talked
well.
about that a little bit too. That God Loves Man Kills has its elements that aren't so great either. So I don't know. I mean, I'm comfortable putting this at number 1, but I don't know what our criteria is in terms of whether it's better than God Loves or not.
I'm gonna make a sweeping
Seeing how-
statement. Oh, I'm sorry, Luke.
Oh,
you can
yeah.
make your sweeping statement first.
Well, no, like seeing your reasons for why you've ordered things the way that you have. I'm fine putting this above God Loves Man Kills, because it is a third heat. It also includes a lot of the elements that make God Loves Man Kills work, because it's showing that future. It's not just, oh, these are things that might happen, this is like a shitty guy, this is what happens if we don't stop
Right.
that garbage person.
Yeah, you get that timeline of what the consequences of a person like Stryker's actions are. So I don't know. I'm comfortable bumping it up there, but I want to make sure you're on board as well.
My sweeping declaration was going to be that yes, it's much better than God Loves Man Kills, even if it's not a perfect entry point into the X-Men. So I think even though it kills the symmetry of our list, I think it goes above God Loves Man Kills.
Well, we know just from what we're going to be talking about in the next couple episodes that something is going to replace the worst. So we're going to mess that up anyway. But
That's a
I'm
good
more than
point.
comfortable
That makes
putting.
me feel better.
Yeah, doesn't it? I mean,
Yes.
I'm more than comfortable putting this at number 1 right now. Reading back on it, I was surprised. I remember it fondly, and rereading it, it held up. It is really good. So I think we've got a new number 1.
I think we do. Number 1 is X-Men Days of Future Past. And that's 3 up, 3 down. Luke, thank you for your suggestions. Now, I know we are running long today, and I know someone has a podcast to record. But
Yeah, we got time.
we have a couple of questions. I put out the call for questions this morning, and we got several. So,
Okay.
yes, we did.
People listening.
Sure, people listening asked the questions. It was people listening. So the first question comes from Multiversal Q on Twitter, and it's, what are y'all drinking?
I am drinking chamomile tea out of, you'll love this, guys. It is a steel coffee mug, and it has Joe Biden eating ice cream on it. It's a photo of Joe Biden eating an ice cream cone. Yeah.
I'm drinking black coffee out of a black coffee mug that's very generic.
Sorry, no Joe Biden for you.
I had a grande midnight mint mocha frappuccino before the podcast, and then probably once we hang up, I have two Marvel, or no, I've got a Batman cup and a 90s Marvel's Avengers cup, and I'm going to fill some of that up with ice water, because I've got to talk more on another podcast.
Is War Machine on that cup?
No, though it does have, like, Nova and, like, that 80s Black Widow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Boy. Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
That was a great question. Thanks, listener.
Thank you, listener.
Thank you, Multiversal Q. Multiversal.
Yep. There are two questions here that kind of go together, and they're kind of opposing questions, so I want to ask them. Exiled Podcast, at Exiled Podcast on Twitter, asks, how great was killing Warlock? And the Ghost of Warlock at Best Teen Warlock asks, why does self-soul enemy entity Luke have no soul?
I think I took no pleasure over killing Warlock. I think that his death was a result of the team not working together to stand up against the Eternals.
I think that's fair.
Spoilers for Exiled.
Yeah, that's the sad part. It's the sad. Now, we got a lot of other questions here, but I think we'll just do one more. The last one comes to us from Mojo at the Mojoverse, who says,
how's about some new pitches for your dear sweet Mojo? Sweeps Week is coming, and people are dying for new shows. No!
That was a very good
Mojo
read, though.
Well done.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right,
I think he's asking pitches for new TV shows, which this is an odd place to that, but you know what? You get your suggestions where you can.
Well,
can it be a reboot?
Probably asking. That could be, though. I mean, Mojo traditionally makes X-Men based TV shows, so.
Does it have to be a Mojo show? Can it just be in the real world?
I mean, it can be whatever. It's the magic of television.
I mean,
and the magic of Twitter.
Yeah, if Mojo can get involved and give me another 18 episodes of Twin Peaks, I'd be 100% on board for that, because I am loving that. Probably when this airs, it's over, and I'll be in a ball crying, because that is just such an amazing experience this year. And then, can you give me a Lost reboot? That'd be great.
Maybe. 57 minutes ago, I would have had a different answer, but as of this conversation, I now want a Jem of the Holograms reboot, but instead of Jem of the Holograms, I want it to be Dazzler, Lila Cheney, Pixie, and, I don't know, like, North Star can be the boy. It's fine. They did that whole thing in San Francisco where they were all best friends. So, I'm going to go with that.
Now, I would say if Mojo rebooted Twin Peaks, it would probably end up with Longshot playing Agent Dale Cooper. Would that make you more or less excited?
Oh, more. That'd be great. I'm totally on board for that. That would be wonderful. Because, there's been a lot of these, this is kind of related, but there's been a lot of these questions lately. Like, I think Chris Anka asked this recently online, like dream lineups of the X-Men. And there have been some really fun ones. If you go through the responses, who else did one of these? I think Mark for X-Men Monday did one of these recently, and people were coming up with really cool lineups for X-Books that Mojo would be very happy with.
I don't think I've actually done an X-Men story in Exiled.
No, you haven't. You did, spoilers alert, but you kind of half did Inferno.
Yes.
But it did have the Nastier Boys, which, Luke, that's one of your best gags. That's a good classic Luke Herr goof right there.
I like that. The Nastier Boys.
Because Mr. Sinister was teaming up with Nastier, and he has the Nasty Boys. So the
Nastier.
Yes.
I thought Nastier. Oh, that's brilliant.
Nastier,
Well
like the Green Horse Demon. What is it with X-Men and horse-based characters? I
don't know.
Oh,
Baby stealing horse-based characters.
That's a very specific brand. But I think that does it for our question segment. Thank you to...
Oh, I didn't get to pitch a show.
Did you not? Did you not?
No.
Oh, okay. Pitch away. I'm sorry. Our question segment is still in progress.
X-Babies, but they're in a hospital drama, but it's also a reality show because they're working on actual people. who are alive and they're trying to figure out what's wrong,
God.
but because they're the X-Babies, they don't know what's going wrong. It would get all the ratings!
Mojo does love the X-Babies.
Yeah,
He does.
I like him too.
He'd be on brand for that. Oh,
I understand that Mojo brand very well.
that
This is
Mojo
great.
brand.
These are some great ideas,
That-
guys. It's a whole fall season here.
Yeah, we could fill up a Thursday night. Do that pretty well.
Must see TV.
Med X-Babies.
All right. So, as we now wrap up, as we are hitting the 1 hour mark, which makes this by far our longest episode of Exiles.
Yeah.
Not X. Oh my gosh, that's your brand.
Wrong podcast.
Dang it! Dang it! No, Battle of the Atom. That's the podcast that I run. It's the one we've been doing for, by the time this goes up, 7 episodes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Luke, Beyond Exiled, which is not this podcast, it's a different one. Where can people find you online?
You can also find me at Multiversal Q, which is my weekly podcast where Devin, my co-host, and I talk about different alternate universes. The week that this is going up, we're talking about Iron Man Viva Las Vegas, which is an unfinished series by the guy who directed those first 2 Iron Man movies.
To be clear, this isn't going
It's-
up for like several weeks.
Oh, I know.
It's this. That's what you're doing when we're recording this. That's fine. That's just pedantic.
That sounds awesome.
I'm just being very specific here. I'm sorry for ruining your
Okay.
pitch. I
No.
screwed that. That's on me. That's on me.
If this is going up September 17th or the 24th, it would either be What If Doom Became a Hero or Superman Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
So there's a lot of good stuff on your plate coming up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got all sorts of good stuff. We're getting into some more of the DC stuff, which we haven't really covered because, you got October coming up, which is Bat-tober.
That's good.
Yes, and then I am on Twitter at @Koltreg. That's KOLTREG. I also write comics. The second issue of Heroes International, the book that I wrote that is out now, is very good. It's about Space Prison, where I came up with a bunch of bullshit villains, and it is very good. And then I got kicked off the book. So buy it and tell the publisher that you want me back on it.
Oh,
Yes, you should.
Comics.
busy man.
Yeah.
All right, and Adam, where can people find you on the web, the World Wide Web?
The interwebs. You can always follow me at Arthur Stacy, and you can always check out Bish and Jubes and whatever I'm drawing over at adamrec.tumblr.com. Working hard to get the last couple pages of Bish and Jubes' second issue done. Just trying to find some time. So look forward to that.
Yeah.
Yay.
And as for myself, you can find me every week on XavierFiles.com, where I will tell you about all the cool X-Men characters that you ever wanted to know about. As we're recording this, I've just put up one about Havoc. We had one about Emma Frost recently. Nimrod's coming up. Actually, the Master of Magnetism himself is coming up right now, but that may be...
Lorna Dane?
No, Lorna sucks. Look, I don't like Polaris. She is very low on my list. But beyond that, you can follow me on Twitter at XavierFiles. You can listen to my other podcast that I do with Matt Sibley, Legion Quest, which is all about the great TV show Legion, which doesn't have Mojo on it, even though I really thought it was going to for a while, and I kind of died with that shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so good. Good times.
Season
2, the Mojoverse. That's exactly what's happening, I hope.
Fingers crossed.
Give me this Noah Hawley, please. Make me right. But beyond that, you can also go to patreon.com/XavierFiles and support the show monetarily. It's a cool way to help out, support everything that I do for Xavier Files as a media empire. At the $2 level, you can actually make suggestions for stuff for us to read and rank on this show, which is a lot of fun. Beyond that, I think we're going to be coming back. Oh, wait. No, I have to pitch this. iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever you listen to this through. If you guys want to rate and review, if you've been enjoying the show, please do. It really helps us out and makes us feel good on the insides.
Yay.
Yay.
And if you don't want to, you can rank my podcasts.
It's true. You can.
That's true. Rate everybody. It's great.
Yeah, just
I believe in you.
ratings all around. Your homework, guys, is to go and put 4 iTunes ratings out there. 1 for Battle of the Atom, 1 for Legion Quest, 1 for Multiversal Q, and 1 for Exiled. Anyone who gets that will get a prize. We'll decide on the prize if anyone does that. But if you show that, we'll find a prize. We'll make something happen. Beyond that, I want to thank Luke Herr for showing up this week and talking about a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Luke.
No problem.
All right, all. Next week, we have what may be the worst story with the word X-Men on it ever, along with some other stuff. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be bad.
The show's going to be awesome, but the story is awful.
You still bought it, Luke. Like you still put the money down.
We're
You're
so
going to have to
sorry about that,
experience
Luke.
this with the rest of us.
So sorry.
Well, I apparently had it delivered to the wrong address.
Oh, no, someone
so
else
I
got
might,
it?
That's a weird package for someone to just get.
God. Can you imagine
Well, it's got
opening
my
it?
name on it, so I'll probably just need to swing by and pick it up
Hopefully
sometime.
they
Please say you didn't send that to your parents.
No, jeez. No, I sent it to my old landlord.
I've done that before. Yeah. So that's some good stuff. For everyone, this has been Battle of the Atom. I hope you survived the experience.
Get it!